Guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and it is time for another live stream show. That's right, it's Sunday night, y'all, and happy Easter. Appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out with us on this Sunday night. On this special Easter Sunday night, April 17th, we are getting ready to get rolling here on our live stream show. And appreciate everybody hanging out and tuning in. Want to give a shout out to our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle. Thanks for bringing this live show out and for putting it on for us, guys. This live show and every live show is brought to you by our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle. 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. Check them out, guys. Also want to give a shout out to all of those of you who have been sending stars while we were getting ready to get rolling here. We have Mike Dixon, Andrew Johnson, Larry White, Jessica Hinkle, Brian C., Jim Evans, Chris Bass, and Tim Dykes. Really appreciate everybody who was sending stars. Those stars are a way for us to do more cool things, and it's a great way to show your support for the show. Definitely really appreciate your support in sending stars. For those of you not watching on Facebook, it's a Facebook-only feature, and it's a great way to show some support for the show and help us to do more cool things in our live show. So really appreciate you guys. Again, Mike Dixon, Andrew Johnson, Larry White, Jessica Hinkle, Brian C., Jim Evans, Chris Bass, and Tim Dykes for sending stars. Thank you guys, and happy Easter to everybody. Hopefully everybody had a very happy Easter, and hopefully everybody ate lots of food and had a good time with friends and family today. We are going to get started on this show and talk to you guys a little bit about what we've been catching, what we have coming up, and what we see weather-wise. And Adam Franklin, appreciate those 500 stars, buddy. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that, dude. So, as I was saying, going to talk a little bit about what we're catching now, what's coming up, talk to you a little bit about the weather, too. But first, don't forget to comment and tell us where you're watching from. Also, don't forget to like the video. If you're watching on Facebook, give it a like. Share it to your favorite fishing club. Share it on your timeline. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. If you're watching on Instagram, don't forget to like the video and make sure you like our page on Instagram. We're up to 21,000 people on Instagram. Really appreciate that. Definitely been a slow go on Instagram. We're at over 130,000 on Facebook. We're approaching 8,000 on YouTube, so really appreciate that. Twitter, LinkedIn, Trovo, Twitch, Nextdoor, we're struggling on all of those. I don't think we're even over 200 on Twitter yet, so we'll get there. But definitely those are the big boys between Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. But also want to make sure that you know, if you want to win some of these free fishing trips we're going to be giving away tonight, we're going to be giving away a ton of free trips tonight. A 5-hour half day for 2 guests, a 10-hour all day for 2 guests, and a 39-hour fishing trip for 1 guest. All completely free. All you have to do is comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. So real important to go to facebook.com, scroll over to the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page, find that live video, comment at least once, and your name is entered into that drawing for free trips. Now, you do have to watch the entire show. We cut it off at the very beginning of the show, so only those watching from the very start through the very end have an opportunity to win. And you have to make sure that you're watching live, because if you are picked as that lucky winner, you only have a few minutes to claim that free trip. Around 5 minutes, you have to text us at this phone number. So within 5 minutes, if you're picked as that lucky winner, you have to text that phone number. If you don't, text that phone number, your full home address right there, you don't win the free trip. So you got to watch live for the entire show. If you're picked as a lucky winner, text us within 5 minutes to that phone number. So make sure, if you want to win some free trips, comment on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream and make sure you watch live. All right, guys? That's how you win That's how it works. So hopefully everybody got that. With that, we are going to get into some photos and show you guys what we've been catching. So let's start off inshore, show you guys what the inshore catch has been, and then we'll work our way offshore here. Stream Deck is not working tonight, Josh. So inshore, we've been seeing some of those Jack Crevalle and a lot of those Spanish mackerel. The Spanish mackerel bite has been really good around the jetties, around the bridge, and we're catching these things as we troll out, even as we exit John's Pass. It's pretty incredible. Right in the channel, the mackerel are already starting to feed. And a lot of those Jack Crevalle in the early morning around the dock lines, and when those big bait schools come in, we see the Jack Crevalle really kind of school up and start feeding actively. We've seen that a few mornings in the past, so definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. Redfish bite's been going good lately. We're going to have Capt Mike here call in soon and give us more of an update on those redfish. Definitely transitioning more and more to those pinfish and now even to the dead cut bait. But he'll be filling you in more there, so don't want to give away too much. But the redfish bite was really good this past week. Definitely a lot of fish moving around, a lot of fish really feeding active. You can see here one of my favorite lures hanging out of that fish's mouth, the mirror lure Miradine. Very, very similar to those pinfish and those white baits that those fish are really targeted in on right now as they transition from that cooler time of year to that warmer water. We see a lot more of those snook, redfish, trout targeting more of those white bait pinfish and those jerk baits, those mirror lure Miradines work really, really well. Definitely one of my go-tos, and my grandfather used the bait, my father used the bait, and it's one of my favorites too. Been around a long time. Now this photo is a special one. This is Captain Seabass, Captain Seabass, that's his daughter, showing off one of the sheep's head that she caught. He came down on his day off and took his daughter fishing. They were fishing off the seawall inside John's Pass. Ended up catching a real nice sheep's head, a couple nice mangrove snapper. It's that time of year where we still got the sheep's head pretty actively feeding, but we're starting to see more and more of those mangrove snapper kind of filling in and less of those sheep's heads. So good time of year to go fish those structures, docks, piers, bridges, jetties, get a chance at those sheep's head and plentiful mangrove snapper too. Also the snook have been active inshore all around the flats. These kind of average size snook are real active around the flats. And want to give a shout out to Captain Jason Dozier for sending in some photos, allowing us to use some of his photos from his charter. Again, Captain Jason Dozier. Also, we've been seeing some of the bigger snook starting to move into the passes, starting to stage up a little bit for that kind of summertime vacation where more snook show up in the passes, feed actively around bridge lights, dock lights, and then during the day start kind of transitioning to that beachfront vacation. So a lot of those bigger snook are definitely on the move. A lot of the more schooly sized fish are real active on the flats. This one was right on the Johns Pass jetties. Early morning has been a real good time to get out there. You can see the flare hawk hanging out of his mouth. It's starting to be that time of year where it's definitely picking up and kind of becoming more and more of a summertime kind of pattern. Trout have actually been biting really good. So speaking of summertime patterns, most of the time the trout bite best in those cooler months. Didn't really see that this year. It was a little tougher throughout the area overall, but the trout have really picked up over the last 2-3 weeks. We're seeing a lot of trout on those deeper flats, and I'm sure Capt Mike will speak to that a little bit during his phone call, but real active trout bite from our friends over at Salt Strong on their Salt Strong Fishing community page. We got a ton of trout photos there sent in for our news report on Friday and also our show. So as you can see, the trout bite's been going real good. Now we are going to make our way offshore a little bit, talk to you guys a little bit more about that near shore and offshore bite. But first, want to make sure we give a shout out to our upcoming events, because we have two special events this week that you don't want to miss. First one is this coming Tuesday, only 2 days away. We've got our Bartow Ford Real Animals Fishing Conversation coming up. If you go over to our CaptainDylanHubbard.com website page, again, it's just CaptDylanHubbard.com, and this is our website page where we're kind of housing our events. So if you go to that website, click upcoming events, it has a ton of local events in our area. And you can see here this coming Tuesday, April 19th, we've got that Real Animals Fishing Conversation over at Bartow Ford. You can kind of click on that, and it's going to take you over to the page, tell you a little bit about it, and should have the Facebook link on there as well. And we are excited because we are going to be talking all about fishing with our good friends, Captain Mike Mahoney from TA Mahoney's, and also Mike Anderson from the Real Animals. We're going to be giving away a ton of free stuff, Real Animal swag, Bull Bay rods, some Hubbard's Marina swag, and there's free food, free drinks. It's a lot of good time. Now, not free alcohol, but lots of soda water and Cuban sandwiches, stuffed or crab, I forget what they call it, crab stuffed potatoes maybe, but some really, really good food from Silver Ring Cafe over there and Riverview. So definitely don't want to miss out. Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Bartow Ford. Then this coming Sunday, April 24th, we're going to be over at Tampa Bass Pro Shops for our fishing conversation. That's at 2 p.m., April 24th, Tampa Bass Pro Shops. So 2 great events this upcoming week. Hopefully you get to join us for some of those. And Mike Hart, appreciate those stars, buddy. Thank you so much, my man. Really appreciate that support. And hopefully we'll see you for some of those upcoming events this week, as I was saying. And with that, let's get into some of our nearshore and offshore photos. So we'll show you here what we've been catching nearshore and offshore. The hogfish bite actually picked up a little bit for us this past week. It slowed down overall when we had that real rough run of weather, but then it kind of got a little nicer for us, and the hogfish turned on. So we've been catching a few nice hogfish, not a ton, definitely slower compared to that cooler time of year, but we're still seeing some nice hogfish coming up on our 5-hour half days, 10-hour all days, nearshore private fishing charters. So definitely still seeing those hogfish. And this one was from our Tuesday midweek 39-hour trip. That was a supposed 10-plus pound hogfish. Unfortunately, didn't have the photos from that trip. I was out of the office when it came back, and that camera has been a struggle to track down. I know where it's at, and I should hopefully get my hands on it this week to get some better photos of that hogfish. But they did real well Tuesday. They caught a nice wahoo, which we're going to see that photo here soon, and plentiful mangroves and some yellowtails and vermilions, porgies, fat red groupers, scamp grouper. And they even caught a yellowmouth grouper, which we're going to see here shortly. Now, the 10-hour trip, some big news from the 10-hour trip. These mangroves have really showed up. Captain Frank and the guys, Captain Bobby, have really been hitting some good mangrove snapper. We're fishing deeper right now on those 10-hour trips because the lane snapper are deeper. We're fishing deeper because these mangrove snapper are biting real well for us. And we're seeing that red grouper bite pick up, too, on our 10-hour all day. So we're fishing closer to, like, 15 to 25 miles offshore generally on a 10-hour trip, but now we're closer to that 20-25 mile mark, fishing closer to that 100-foot of water mark, and we're seeing it pay off right now with the occasional nice red grouper, definitely a lot more than we have been seeing on our 10-hour trips, and we're seeing plentiful lane snappers, some really nice big mangroves, and the occasional hogfish still as well. Now, this is him. This is not a scamp. This is not a black grouper. This is a yellowmouth grouper. You can tell because it's got a straighter kind of trailing edge of its back fin. It's got a more pronounced, I forget what they call this, on the edge of its mouth, and its mouth protrudes further back than its eye, and its color pattern is different. This is a yellowmouth grouper, not a scamp. So definitely a unique catch. We don't see a ton of these in our area, and it's kind of maybe 1, 2 a year, if that. We don't really see them that often, so pretty cool to catch one of those for sure. Nice big triggerfish. Those triggerfish are still open through the end of May. And then look at this guy, nice wahoo from our good buddy Denoris Hall, who drives down with his family from Birmingham, Alabama for our 39-hour trips. And they do quite a few of them, 10, 15 of them a year, and they drive all the way from Alabama to go out fishing with us. And this wahoo broke the gaff. That's actually the gaff hanging out of the fish there. Broke the gaff when it went crazy. Luckily, we had another one standing by and got that fish on board successfully, but a definite prize catch on the Nomad DTX minnow. Now, Denoris does a lot of trips around the Gulf, and he really likes targeting wahoo. So he catches quite a few of these guys, and he loves that Nomad DTX minnow for him. So pretty cool. Big shout out to Denoris and that trophy catch. Real good dude, and pretty happy that he was able to catch that real nice trophy wahoo. Also want to give a shout out. Hopefully they didn't disappear. No, they didn't. Felice Padilla and Greg Mannion with those stars while we were showing those photos. Big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for your support. Now, we've shown you the inshore photos, the nearshore and offshore photos. We've talked about how that 10-hour trip is seeing a lot of those big mangroves, plentiful lanes, red grouper bites picked up, hogfish bites still kind of steady, slower than it was, but we're still catching them. We've talked about how in deep water we're doing real well with mangroves, fat red grouper, scamp grouper. We're seeing pelagics like crazy, tons of kingfish, a lot of good shots at blackfin tuna, and then the occasional wahoo and potentially even a sailfish. We've even seen sailfish inshore. This past week on the hub, Captain Sal was out there at the South County Artificial Reef trolling for mackerel and kingfish. That's only 9 miles from the coast in real shallow water. Saw a sailfish up on the surface charging baits. I know we had a sailfish caught 7 miles off the coast of Anna Maria 2 weeks ago. My buddy Trey Sorensen, a captain out of John's Pass, caught one in about 100 foot of water this past week too. So definitely some pelagic fish around right now. So the pelagic bite's hot, and a good time to get out there for sure. Jeff Reedy, Dylan Argenzinio, and Craig Robinson, appreciate those stars, and especially you, Nick Niaz, with 1,200. Thank you so much, Nick. So appreciate all that support, guys. But like I was saying, lots of pelagic action, good opportunity to get out there on the water. But we've got some weather coming. We're going to talk about that here shortly. But first, before we get to the weather, guys, it is time to give away our first free trip of the night. We're going to give away our 5-hour half day for 2 guests. 5-hour half day for 2 guests coming at you. Let's see who won that 5-hour trip for 2 people. The winner is John from Wisconsin. Congratulations, John, for hanging out with us. Remember, you got 5 minutes or less to claim that free trip. You got to text us at that phone number right below within 5 minutes. So text us your full home address to this phone number within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. And with that, let's get into some of your weather and talk to you guys a little bit about what's coming up weather-wise. Then we're going to get a call after weather from our friend Captain Mike, talk a little bit about inshore. Then we're going to answer your questions. If you have a question, make sure you text it to that phone number if you want it answered live during the show. With that, let's pop over to our Hubbard's Marina website page. And on our Hubbard's Marina website page under fishing trips, you can scroll down to the Weather Links page. On our Weather Links page, we're going to start right here on our Wind Finder forecast page in the 5 and 10 hour area. So this is very near shore, and you can see absolutely gorgeous day today. Unfortunately, we were closed due to Easter. Tomorrow, absolutely spectacular. Flat calm until late in the afternoon when the wind picks up. But then wind picks up and it stays up. And it just doesn't quit, unfortunately, for a while. So it looks bumpy through the week, especially Tuesday, Wednesday. Calms down a little bit Thursday, Friday. Weekend might be nice, but definitely a windy week of weather. So weather is best tomorrow. But good news, we added a special 10-hour all-day trip tomorrow. We've got plenty of room on our afternoon half-day trip tomorrow. So we've got a 10-hour all-day with 24 people on it. 24 people, that's it. And then we've got a 5-hour half-day tomorrow afternoon with only 19 people on it. So super light load on our 5-hour half-day in the afternoon tomorrow. Super light load on our 10-hour all-day trip tomorrow. And Captain Frank is heading deep on that 10-hour to get out there to those big red groupers. So you don't want to miss it. And then we're going to get a front Tuesday with that weather pushing in and high pressures building behind it. So it's definitely going to get bumpy there Tuesday with that front moving in and then a high pressure building in behind it. So you definitely want to try to get out on the water as soon as you can. Monday being the best day to do it. And then Tuesday, that high pressure builds in and kind of stays with us until we get another front, at least scheduled, later in the week. So the sooner you can get out, tomorrow's really the best day all week as far as it looks right now, weather-wise, to get out there. So if you can, get out in the water tomorrow, Monday, or if you can't do it tomorrow, try to get out on the water later in the week. Aim for closer to the weekend behind that second front. But Dan Rose Robinson, I am tempting you to call out of work. You should. Tomorrow's the day to fish out of the week. Definitely looking good for sure. But we've got our friend Capt Mike Anderson on the phone. How you doing tonight, Capt Mike?
I'm good, my friend. Happy Easter to you and all your listeners. Our good Lord has risen today, so it's a blessing to be able to spend some time with the family today and then get to join you tonight. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you calling in and joining us for the show. And happy Easter to you and the family. I'm glad you got to spend the day. It was kind of
nice.
Weird. It was kind of weird not hanging out with you Saturday morning.
I agree. We'll try not to do that all too often.
Yeah. But the weather is definitely making those fish move. It seems like from what I've been seeing in the Salt Strong community that a lot of those redfish are starting to transition to some more of that dead bait. We've seen the trout feeding more deep water. We see a lot of active fish. So what are you seeing on the water? Are you seeing the same trends?
Yeah, that's pretty spot on. I'm actually filming tomorrow for season 16 of Real Animals, and the plan was originally, because we're going to have a pretty big tide tomorrow, those redfish are going to be in the trees. So that was kind of going to be the theme of the show, was to probably lay some dead bait right on the edges of those mangroves, maybe do a little chum and see if you could bring some of those fish out a little bit to you. And catch some of those redfish. But I'm thinking that with the weather window that we have, if the slight west breeze doesn't booger us up in the morning, if it stays low, then I'm going to try and get out there and kingfish, because, boy, the reports I'm getting on the kingfish are just ridiculous. So I'm hoping to get out there and chase some kingfish.
Yeah, the kingfish have definitely moved in. We've seen a ton of mackerel and a lot of good kingfish, but the kingfish seem to be super spotty. It seems like they're really, really fired up in a certain area, and then other areas they're not, and every day it changes. They're moving around quite a bit, so it's been a little bit trickier on the kingfish inshore. Once you get out there, deeper water, into that blue water, they get a lot more thick, but they're still kind of spotty, and it's definitely been kind of bait-related. But I would imagine most of the reports you're getting are centered around the Egmont Channel and kind of that shipping channel and Anchorage area where there's a lot of bait, and it kind of holds those fish more.
Yeah, and some of the hard bottom areas, St. Pete Beach Reef, some of those areas out there that are traditional. I wouldn't say they're traditional monster kingfish spots, but they're traditional spots for holding a lot of quality fish. Yeah. So you'll get out there. I tell people there's really two ways to do kingfish. You can either anchor up, get some chum in the water, kind of get a party going, and you end up catching a lot of everything. You get a lot of those big Spanish mackerel. In the fall, we'll get some redfish mixed in. You might get a shark or two, but you'll get some kingfish, probably a lot of schoolies. You'll have one or two shots at a big fish probably. Or if you really just want to hang, if your whole goal is to hang a big smoker kingfish, then I tell people the best way to do it is just to settle in and go for a slow troll. Make sure you troll with the tide, troll some big baits, take your time, try to troll something that you're seeing on the hard bottom areas wherever you're at. I always recommend trying to sabiki some up wherever you're at, get some inshore on the bridge, maybe on some of the piers, load up so you have some when you get there, but try to, if you're seeing big, if you're marking a lot of bait down on the bottom of that hard bottom area, then make sure you sabiki some of whatever that is up and try to fish with that, because obviously that's going to be what they're keyed in on. And I'll probably do a little bit of both tomorrow. If we can get out there, we'll probably anchor up and catch some fish because we're filming a show. We'll probably catch some schoolie kings that way. And then once, we have some fish in the boat, then we'll probably spend an hour or two just kind of slow troll and see if we can hang something that, is respectable. So maybe a 30, 40 pounder if we get lucky.
Nice. And I agree completely. Definitely a lot of kind of approaches you could take to kingfish, but to get that big tournament winning kingfish, slow troll and a big live bait is definitely kind of the ultimate goal, or kind of the gold standard, whether it's a big mackerel or a big black mullet or a silver mullet or a big blue runner, slow trolling just fast enough to keep those lines tight. But I agree with you. Getting anchored up, chumming hard with a big live well full of live pilchards or thread fins or sardines is the most exciting way to do it, because you just get a lot of action behind the boat, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've been fortunate because one of the guys I film with down out of South Seas, Captain Ozzie Fisher, is just a tremendous inshore and offshore angler, probably one of the best anglers in general that I've ever fished with, if you take into consideration his, inshore and his offshore abilities combined. I've fished a lot of great inshore and a lot of great offshore, but Ozzie's so good at both. And we've had some phenomenal kingfish bites with him. And we've hung some good fish. Again, some fish in the 30-pound class, maybe 35s. But he's anchored up a lot, unless he's fishing a tournament. He likes to anchor up on that piece, kind of get them chummed up. We've had some epic shots, some 25, 30-pounders skyrocketing behind the boat on those baits. It makes for good TV, and it makes for, like you said, it's really exciting. If you get a bunch of chum in the water, all of a sudden you got fish flying everywhere. Even if they're mackerel, it's irrelevant. Just seeing those fish explode is pretty cool.
Yeah, and especially how high they jump up in the water. Those big kingfish. I mean, you'll see them 15 feet in the air sometimes. It's crazy. Yeah.
I did some kite fishing on some episodes years ago with the guys from Pro Marine, Jim Nassett, and then his really killer team of, they're one of the best in the country at kingfishing, and watching them guys, fly the kites for kingfish is pretty exciting. And when you get that big explosion on a kited bait out there, because you're so much further away from the boat, you tend to get the bigger fish out there on those kites, and it's really something to see.
Yeah, that kite fishing thing is something I don't do a lot of. I've never been on a boat where experts are kite fishing. I've tried it a few times, but I haven't had any success, nor did it go very well for me.
Right.
That is an art.
Well, it's
that
not
is a
something.
true
Yeah,
art.
it is, and it's not something that I would even try. And I've been with the Pro Marine guys now a couple times, and they're really, really good at it.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's not something that I could even,
So
that I just wouldn't try it myself yet.
the guys at Pro Marine, for those of you watching, the guys at Pro Marine on that fishing team, I think they won, like, one year they had 3 or 4 tournament wins in a row of 60-plus pound kingfish. One, I think, was almost 66 pounds. Like, they just, the whole year they had it locked down. Like, if you entered a tournament, you were going to lose to Pro Marine. It was crazy. But
Yeah.
I talked to Jim Nassett, the owner of Pro Marine, who's on that fishing team, who kind of runs things over there, and he said that they do a lot of slow trolling, big live baits, and using now I'm not going to remember the word, where you drop the heavy weight down. Why can't I think of it?
Now you got me locked up too. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's meant for trolling, keeps the bait super deep. Word escapes me, but that's how often we use it because we don't have them on our
Right.
boats.
I know. I had
Downrigger,
some for years.
downrigger.
Downriggers, that's
There
it.
it
I had
is.
some on I bought a set, and I probably used them. I bought a set for grouper trolling.
Yeah,
The great Vance Tice uses them to grouper troll the shipping channel because it's such an easy way to keep that bait right in the target zone.
exactly.
And downriggers work really, really well. There's no doubt about it.
And you don't have to use that planer, you don't have to use that spoon or that lipped plug, so you can target the exact depth you want. So downriggers definitely work really, really well for that reason. But that's what I thought they were doing most of the time, is slow trolling, some live baits on the top, some on the riggers. But kite fishing, I didn't know they were that technical. That brings in a whole different ball game. Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Well, I mean, when you kingfish at the level that they do, when you pack up your 36-foot center console and you head for Venice, Louisiana, and you head for Charleston, South Carolina, and you have, down in the Keys, you have events all over the country that you participate in. You can't, you have to be good at all that, especially if you somehow manage to win as often as they do or place as often as those guys do. Now they've been fishing together a long time. It's a very talented team. Been the same 4 or 5 guys together for years.
Yeah.
And I love talking with Jim and kind of getting dialed in on, how they pick teammates and what, which guy has what responsibility on the boat. It's really interesting when you tap into Jim's brain and get him talking about how they lay that whole thing out.
And it's amazing to me the science behind what they do. One of the cool things that he shared with me, which he swore me to secrecy, so I'm not going to share on the show, but it has to do with how they chum. And their chum is so technical, I will just say that a component of their chum is bought not from a bait shop or anything else. There's some art, some artistry behind their chum. So definitely pretty cool stuff.
I've said for years that it's amazing to me. One of the blessings of, being in the radio business and the TV business as long as I have been, and the opportunity to talk with so many truly great anglers. And again, we all think we're great at it. So I'm not talking about those of us that think we're great at it. I'm talking about legendary guys who have won huge tournaments all over the country. The technical side of fishing, the stuff that you just can't, you can read it in a book and it still doesn't do you any good. You have to have that time on the water. You have to have that application time. You have to have it worked today and it didn't work tomorrow. You have to go through those ups and downs and build it. I used Captain Jamie Goodwin a lot with his tarpon fishing. The way he can read the water and know what those fish are doing on what tides. That's all time on the water. In Jim Nassett and Pro Marine, it's time on the water. It's fishing, hundreds of tournaments over the years and piecing together every little piece of information and putting that in your book, in your file, and then applying that to how you guys attack each scenario. And keep in mind, each scenario from, the Carolinas all the way around the, south tip of Florida, all the way around to Texas. And where every water clarity is different, water temperatures are different, water depths are different. There's so much that you have to put into it. And I think it's the beauty of fishing, because I think it's the one thing I know that keeps me interested in it, because you never stop learning.
Exactly. You never stop learning. There's no kind of secret like combo. Like, all right, if you do this at this spot, you're going to be successful. The most knowledgeable people on the water who do it every day, day in, day out, the most winningest tournament winning captains ever, they still have tough days. And it's not so much the spot or the certain moon phase. There's a lot that goes into it. And there can be tough days and there can be epic days, and you just don't know. Yeah. And that's why I think fishing is so addictive, because not only do you never stop learning, but also it's kind of like gambling. You just never know once you get out there on the water what's going to bite. And that's why I like saltwater fishing so much, is it's so unique in the fact that there's a countless number of species that you might be pulling up on. You just never know what you're going to catch. Whereas freshwater, it's like, all right, it's one of a handful of species that you're going to be you're pulling in if you get hooked up, So just different.
Sure.
Different.
Yeah, for sure. Well, in the world, for us, the world of tides, the winds, the way the wind can make water dirty and completely eliminate whole shorelines from what we do, and when I fished the Redfish Tournament Trail, you would be dialed in for a week of pre-fishing. And this shoreline. Okay, we got our game plan. And the night before the tournament, the wind would just go completely opposite. And you just look at your partner and go, oh, no. Because now everything changes. Yeah. It just changes. Redfish especially, they always put their nose into the wind. That wind
you say
drives
that about a lot of fish, though. I've heard you say that about tarpon. I've heard you say that about kingfish and mackerel.
But it's true. For sure, it's very true. Again, that goes to your clean water.
Okay.
For redfish, I don't know that it's necessarily a clean water issue as much as it is they just put their nose into the wind. Yeah, but for tarpon, when tarpon are chasing, you're being chased around by giant sharks. You don't want the water dirty. You want to be able to see what's coming. So when that water gets dirty on the beach, those fish put their nose into that wind and they get offshore. Yeah. They try to get out where they can see. I mean, and that makes total sense to me. Kingfish as well. When the beach is real dirty, I just personally don't have luck. Now, a guy like Jim Nassett, the Pro Marine Fishing Team, they can probably still catch them in dirty water.
Yeah. That blows my mind, because you go up to somewhere like New Orleans, Louisiana, it's dirty all the time. You can't find clean water.
It's actually, you can find clean water in Louisiana.
I don't fish up there a lot, so.
but in some cases you're right. A Florida angler wouldn't go to Louisiana on his first or second trip and think any of the water is clean.
I thought it was a puke brown. I thought that was it.
It is. It's very brown, but there's less brown, and then there's really brown. I mean, it's just the way it works.
Less brown? That's what you're going for?
Well, you're looking for cleaner water. Okay. It's never super clean, but you're looking for ponds. You're looking for areas that have been protected. You're looking for shorelines where the water. And I'm telling you, once you do it, once you're there and you spend some time and you come around a corner and you see that cleaner water, you're like, okay, that water looks
creamer to this coffee. We're ready to rock and roll, boys.
It looks a little better over here. Yes, I'll have to get you on a trip up there with me sometime and show you the.
I got an invite at the last council meeting. One of the new council members is from Freshwater Bayou, so the very west side of Louisiana. And he's getting into slow pitch jigging, and I talked to him for a whole night at the bar about slow pitch jigging. And he invited me up there to do some of that offshore tuna fishing. I really want to catch a yellowfin tuna on a slow pitch jig.
I'll bet. Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would make.
Yeah, I've done some good yellowfin fishing up there with the Pro Marine guys.
there you go.
Out of Venice. Yeah, it was really some good stuff. So it's a unique place for sure. Yeah, no doubt.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, brother, and I will see you some Saturday very soon.
You'll see me Tuesday night.
Yeah,
Tuesday night you're going to see me.
Yeah,
I heard you plugging it.
I just plugged that.
I know.
10
I
minutes
heard
ago,
you.
and I
I heard you.
That's
it's all good. I'll keep you in check. I'll call you Tuesday. Make sure you show up.
Yeah, don't forget to remind me.
I got you, my friend. Happy Easter again to you, your family, and all your listeners. I appreciate you letting me get a little time here in your spotlight. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you. And don't forget, you can check out Real Animals Season 16 on Waypoint TV and Bally Sports TV. Bally Sports is where it airs live, and then Waypoint TV is where you can find the episodes, correct?
Digital, yes. You can, and it's free. WaypointTV.com. It's WAY, WaypointTV.com. You can find it on your computer, on your phone, on your iPad, whatever. Just go there, and there's hundreds of fishing shows, Flats Class, and all the boys are into the blue saltwater experience. There's a lot of great fishing shows there.
And the Hubbard's Marina live show.
And the Hubbard Marina live show. I didn't know we were on Waypoint with this. That's cool. I didn't know that. Oh, that's very cool. Okay, nice. Mr. Mahoney's show is there as well. Tales from the Dark Side. So good stuff for sure. That's right. Go watch the Weirdos, which I heard you're going to have a boatload of them coming up, huh?
This Thursday we're scheduled, and I'm hoping and praying the weather holds out because it's going to be crazy fishing with Mike Mahoney. So Tuesday night I'm with him at Bartow Ford with you, and then Thursday spending all day with him on the boat, and I'm keeping both eyes open, extra energy drinks, no naps. I'm a little scared for my life / super excited. So
I got an invite. And chose to make sure that I was scheduled to do something else, because if you think Mike Mahoney's a weirdo, wait until you see wait until you see the band of weirdos that he brings with him. Yes,
so
it'll be it'll be good for you. It's a life-changing experience, Dylan.
Yes,
life-changing.
I'm looking forward to it.
I hear you, my friend. Have a great night. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, man. Have a good night. I'll see you Tuesday.
See you, buddy.
Always a pleasure hanging out and talking with our good friend, Capt. Mike Anderson from Real Animals Fishing. Again, every Saturday morning you can catch our radio show from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. on News Radio 970 WFLA. And this Tuesday you can hang out with us in person 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Bartow Ford. You get free food. We've got soda water, lots of free drinks, lots of giveaways. It's going to be a ton of fun. Plus, Mike Mahoney and myself going to be talking offshore fishing, so a lot of fun for sure. D Beers, appreciate those 1,000 stars while we were on the phone. Thank you so much. Thank you, D. With that, let's see who won a 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. Then we're going to get into your questions. Then we're going to give away our 39-hour. But first, 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. Let's see who won. David Munoz from Lakeland. Congratulations, David. Remember, you've got 5 minutes or less, David, to claim your free trip. You got to text us at that phone number right there, your full home address. So make sure, text in, claim that free trip, David, and we'll send it out to you. Appreciate you watching and appreciate everybody hanging out. Remember, if you want your question answered live, you got to text us at that phone number right there. We're going to get into your questions now. I'm thinking I might go on the 10-hour trip tomorrow. Someone texted in here. And with that, what was the rest of the question? I have a setup I can troll with, but could someone help me get it set up? Because I've never done it before. The trolling on a 10-hour trip is never really guaranteed. On our 5-hour half day, 39-hour, 44-hour, you can always troll. On our 10-hour trips, a lot of times we're moving too fast, especially right now because we're fishing deeper. We want to get out there. It's a bottom fishing trip. Everybody's focused on bottom fishing, so we want to get out there real quick. So we're not going to slow down, and we're moving often a little too fast to troll on our 10-hour trips and our 12-hour extreme trips, 12-hour night trips, definitely too fast to troll. So 10 and 12-hour trips definitely are not the best trips in order to troll. But tomorrow's 10-hour trip has 24 people on it. Super light load for this time of year, the backside of Easter. This is a special added trip. The reason I did it is because I knew tomorrow's weather is going to be gorgeous. Tuesday's 10-hour trip that's scheduled is going to be a little bumpy, potentially even canceled due to weather. So that's why I scheduled this Monday special added trip right before the blow, backside of a full moon. Should be stellar fishing, and that's why we added this special 10-hour trip. So regardless, even if you can't troll, I would still recommend coming out with us tomorrow for that 10-hour trip, because it's going to be a light load, great weather, and should be stellar fishing according to all the variables for sure. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Going out Saturday, what bait and what area should I hit? Going out of Fort. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's what I assumed. Yes, you're right. Fort DeSoto Inshore Saturday. Saturday is going to be backside of a cold front potentially, so you're going to have a north wind. So I would be fishing Bunce's Pass or backside of Shell Key, or potentially around that southern side of Fort DeSoto, that beach. And I would be targeting snook in the early morning on the beaches of Bunce's Pass or that south side of Fort DeSoto. Trout on the edges during the day. I would move back closer to the Dick Meisner during the day. Target sheepshead mangroves on the Dick Meisner Bridge. Pompano on those edges of those flats on the approach from the Dick Meisner to Bunce's Pass. Definitely would be wanting some white bait and some cut dead bait flinging underneath the mangrove islands. There's one mangrove island kind of on the approach from the Meisner Bridge out to Bunce's Pass. You get up under there, there's a lot of shallow water. There's some good grass flats. Casting some dead baits under the edges of those mangroves at high tide, low tide, be working those edges of the flats. And outgoing tide, I would just let my boat drift out of Bunce's Pass, working one of those pompano jigs along the bottom. Could be catching flounder, pompano, maybe sheepshead, potential for maybe even a snook working and drifting out. So high tides, fishing the mangroves, outgoing tide, drifting through the pass, incoming tide, I'd be fishing the flats. Definitely would be my best suggestion. At least that's what I'd be doing. I'm fishing with friends Saturday, 30 miles off Sarasota. We caught quite a few beautiful red grouper and mangrove snapper. While fishing pinfish and bonita strips, we were dumped by something huge. Not sure if it was a shark or something else, but the fish consistently was bending our big rods and snapping 50-pound fluorocarbon. 30 miles south, or 40 miles off Sarasota, so west of Sarasota. You're in deep water, 30 miles off Sarasota, probably 150 foot, I would assume, 120 foot. I don't fish off Sarasota too much, but it gets deeper faster down there, and probably at least 120 foot. And could be amberjack, could be big gags, could potentially be a big shark or pelagic. It kind of depends on how that fish was fighting. If it was a clean break on your 50-pound fluorocarbon, it's something toothy, like a kingfish or a wahoo or a shark. If it's more of a frayed break, it's probably a big gag getting you in the rocks, or it's a one of those amberjack getting you in the wreck. So definitely a potential for a variety of different things. It kind of depends. Dolphins, you're going to know, because dolphins are going to come up and surface. So probably one of those gags, amberjack, kingfish, or wahoo. Clean break's going to be kingfish or wahoo. More frayed is going to be amberjack or gags. And the speed The speed is the key. If it's a kind of a slow, steady, kind of throbbing, it's a shark. A lot of times, especially with a big shark, you can actually see the rod tip kind of go in a rhythmic pattern. Because imagine that fish is hooked and that line is running down the side of his body, and that shark's body is moving its tail to get away from you. And as he's moving his tail, you'll actually see those rhythmic kind of taps in your rod tip as it's a slow, steady pull. That's obviously a shark because his tail's actually whipping that line. And every time he whips it, it kind of frays it a little bit. So a lot of times when you get a shark, you'll have a clean break, and then all of a sudden about 4, 5, 6, 10 feet back, depending on the length of the shark, you'll see that area that's kind of a little bit frayed, and that's from the tail whipping the leader line. So it's pretty easy to tell when you got that shark. Goliath, it's just a quick zing and pop. But there's definitely a lot of Goliaths off Sarasota, so that's a potential as well. You never know. Where can I get pro tips to cast a net in person? Our seagrass in Bogasega Bay by Terra Verde Bridge is disappearing. Will it come back? So many different pieces of that question. I like it. Pro tips to casting a cast net. I know a little bit about casting a cast net. I definitely don't know a lot. If you want kind of personal in-person coaching, we do have somebody at Hubbard's Marina, our bait guy, Brian Harris, better known as Buka, is definitely a pro cast net fisherman. He commercially fishes for mullet with cast nets. He casts a variety of different nets, and he's always trying to support his family. So I'm sure that I could get you in contact with Brian, and I'm sure he'd be more than happy to give you one-on-one in-person cast net teaching, coaching, tutorials. So if you want one-on-one coaching for cast nets, we got a guy. Give us a shout with your info, and I'll pass it over to Brian, and I'm sure he'll be in contact. Bad weather, he can't go out and pin fish for us and catch us bait. So I'm sure he'd be more than happy to meet up with you and teach you how to throw a net. As far as seagrass disappearing in Bogasega Bay, definitely super disappointing. Has a lot to do with water quality issues, and we're working on a few different things, but that's a whole different live show. We only got a few minutes left, and I don't want to go on too much of a tangent there, but we're working on a few different things. As the president of the Florida Guides Association, one of our kind of tenets is lowering discard mortality, and then also kind of working on the water quality front with our friends in different organizations like Tampa Bay Waterkeepers, Captains for Clean Waters, Coastal Conservation Association, or CCA. And there's a few different ideas that I have, but it's definitely a long, drawn-out thing. And the whole water quality word just encompasses so many different things, whether it's people over-fertilizing their lawns or cutting their lawns in coastal communities, or septic systems along the coastlines, or poor city infrastructure and sewage infrastructure, or irresponsible growth, or so on and so forth. The over-cementing of Central Florida, preventing water being cleansed before it goes into Lake Okeechobee discharges, the EAA reservoir, stormwater cleansing. I mean, it's never ending. Water quality in and of itself is just such a kind of viscous, never ending, very large subject that we really don't have time to dig into, but it's an issue, and that's what's causing the seagrass to kind of suffer. On the east coast of Florida, the seagrass is almost gone. On the west coast of Florida, it's shrinking slowly. We lost like 16%, 13% of our seagrass in Tampa Bay area during the last big red tide outbreak. And so it's definitely a big concern, something that we're kind of keeping our eye on. But again, whole different live show. So we'll get into that. What's the difference between a kingfish and a king mackerel? There isn't. So there's a Spanish mackerel and a king mackerel. Spanish mackerel are called mackerel, Spanish, Spanies, Max. A king mackerel is a kingfish, king mac. There's a bunch of other names that are escaping me, but a kingfish and a king mackerel are the same thing, to answer your question. Best area to find abundance of blue runners for upcoming kingfish tournament. That is a $50,000 question. I expect a commission. Most people go to find their blue runners out of the shipping channel. Those markers that run along the Egmont Key Channel is where I would go to Sabiki blue runners. Also, local artificial reefs, St. Pete Beach Reef, Madeira Beach Reef, mitigation sites off of what was once the Reddington Long Pier. You can get them around Tampa Bay, but definitely offshore, 40, 50, 60 foot of water is where you want to be going for targeting those blue runners. And I would suggest if you're in the kingfish tournament, you're serious about catching blue runners, and you don't have the time to spend all week catching them, I would suggest contacting a local charter captain and giving them $100, $200. Where are you catching the blue runners? They're a pelagic, semi-pelagic bait fish. They move around a lot, and if you have someone like that's out in the water all the time, that's able to kind of tell you, hey, in this depth of water, in this general area, here's the lat and long of the area. I've been seeing a lot of blue runners. That's worth $100. So you can call around and offer to bribe local captains for that information. And that would be the best bet. Next question. I'm 42 years old. Been fishing with y'all since I was 11. So been fishing with us for 30 plus years. I bought a 10-inch bottom candy octopus tentacles. Would they work on a 39-hour trip? Heck yeah, man. Definitely. Octopus is probably one of my favorite dead baits for grouper, snapper, a variety of different baits. If I'm dropping down a dead bait this time of year, especially spring, kind of early summer, octopus tentacles are the best. Fresh is always better than frozen, but if I'm pulling out the option of squid or thread fins or a 10-inch octopus tentacle, I'm going to reach for that octopus tentacle 9 out of 10 times, especially when targeting red grouper, gag grouper, mangrove snapper, a killer bait. Stays on the hook really well. Definitely a great bait. But one thing I would recommend, if you're using a 10-inch long octopus tentacle, a lot of times you'll have problems with those smaller snapper chewing one end. So something that my dad started doing that I really like is using a double snell rig with opposite size hooks. So he might use a 7-8 aught hook on the bottom and then maybe a 4 or 5 aught hook on the top. And putting that smaller hook towards the top of that octopus tentacle and that bigger hook kind of more down towards the middle. That way you have opposite size hooks, so you have a chance at hooking those smaller fish that are down there chewing on that tentacle, and you still have that big hook there to catch that bigger fish. You can even reverse them, put the big hook up towards the top where it's a little bit meatier, put that smaller hook down towards the bottom. So definitely there's an option for you in order to try to capitalize on those kind of nibbling fish. I'm new to the area and like to fish for flounder. Are there ever enough around to target them? Or are they just occasional bycatch? Lately, we haven't really seen a ton of flounder. When I was 10, 12, 14 years old, we had a ton of flounder in Tampa Bay area, and you could definitely target them, especially off our dock, certain tides. We'd get a ton of them around the bridge, but the sand encroachment has ruined our flounder fishing around our dock. You can still catch a lot of flounder in the bay, but it's more of a directed fishery if you know where to target them. Looking for them around different potholes, edges, around local structure, thinking like a fish, and visualizing, all right, here's a grass flat. That grass flat has an incoming tide, so it's pushing all the water towards the seawall. There's a dock right there on this seawall. All right, the down tide side of that dock is going to hold some flounder. And working that flounder jig on the down tide side is going to give you a chance at catching them. So you can definitely catch flounder, but it's more of a bycatch for sure. And definitely not so much a directed fishery, especially lately with the red tide effects. We have definitely seen kind of a downturn in the overall flounder fishery. But you never know. You could get them, but it's been a little bit tougher. Any definitive news on the gag grouper season? I seem to remember a change being talked about. So the gag grouper fishing season is, again, a whole nother live show. We only have a few minutes left. We are going to be releasing a Gulf Council meeting summary, but it is unfortunately a little delayed because this past week, unfortunately, I had a loss in my family. My grandmother passed away. Shout out to Nana. She's in a better place. Definitely, she lived a beautiful 94 years and passed away due to complications from a stroke. So, little struggling with that this past week. Plus, we had a fisheries meeting. So I was in Alabama last week at a federal fisheries meeting and a shark depredation summit. Then this week, I was in a marine resource education program, Southeast Region program principal for the entire Southeast region for the marine resource education program. We had a 4-day workshop this past week. I only made it to 2.5 days, and unfortunately, my wife went to visit my grandmother. She wasn't doing very well, and she's texted me like, hey, she's not doing well. So I stepped out of the meeting, called, and was talking to my grandmother, and she passed away while I was on the phone with her. So it was a tough week, to say the least. And yeah, so I'm a little out of sorts, to say the least, but we are going to be getting back into things this coming week, and looking forward to hopefully capitalizing on that good weather tomorrow. And I forget the question. I don't know. Did the question change? I got carried away there. No, that wasn't the question. Question changed. It went away. Long story short, it's been busy, and I'm trying to... Oh, that's what it was. We were talking about the Gulf Council wrap-up. So we're going to try to get to your wrap-up and give you kind of a rundown of what happened on the Gulf Council meeting and the gag grouper season changes that are only in effect for 2023. So the question was, any definitive answers on gag grouper season this year? There's no changes. 2022, gag grouper will open June 1st, and they will run through the end of the year. 2023 is where we're going to see changes. The NOAA Fisheries is going to enact an interim rule, which comes from the regional administrator. So the regional administrator, which was Dr. Crabtree, now is Andy Strelchek, is going to enact an interim rule. The reason why is because the council is working on a plan amendment to address the issues that came out of this recent gag grouper stock assessment. So that will take a long time. Plan amendments take almost 2 years to kind of move through, and that's if it goes well and goes quickly. So the reason for the interim rule in 2023 is to kind of hold things over while the council enacts their plan amendment. So long story short, in 2022, we won't see a gag grouper season change. 2023, we'll see changes to our gag grouper fishing. So most likely, it'll probably be a late in the year season. We've gotten a lot of pushback from Northern Gulf fishermen, charter captains, and Western Gulf charter captains. But guess what? 90+% of gag grouper landings occur where? Florida. Particularly central to southwest Florida. We're responsible for a large majority of catches of gag grouper. So I'm planning on driving this bus whether people want me to or not, with our area and our recreational and charter for hire and party boat fishermen in my foresight. So that's what we did at this recent meeting, and we're kind of successful. And what I'm pushing for and what our area kind of wants, at least in my experience from the people I talk to, is we want a gag grouper season in October, November, December, for as long as possible. So if that means opening October 1st and having a 2-month season, if that means opening November 1st and having a 2-month season, or December 1st and having a 1-month season, whatever it is, we want the gag grouper season to open as late as possible in the year for as long as possible. That's what we're shooting for. So no earlier than October 1st, and we want it to try to run through December 31st. So the ultimate goal would be October 1st through December 31st, but all the season projections we have right now that came out of this recent council meeting is if it opens October 1st, I want to say it was like a 50-ish day season. If it opens November 1st, it's like a 25-day season. If it opens December 1st, it's around the same as November, so not even a full month. So right now, somewhere around October 1st. But we'll know more at this June council meeting when we finalize kind of the interim rule. And as far as red snapper season is concerned, that should be announced any day now. And a little birdie told me it'll be closer to 80 days. Opening June 1st, somewhere around 70 to 80 days. But I was told closer to 80 days. So I would imagine probably 76 to 78 days, maybe even 80, starting June 1st. So we're going to be fishing for red snapper until mid-August. We'll be adding some added trips into our schedule once that season is finalized. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for all that. All right. With that, we are out of time. So want to make sure we give away our last free trip of the night. We got to give away our 39-hour trip, but also don't forget to check us out every Friday morning, 8:15 a.m. on Fox Channel 13 News. Check out our radio show every Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. on News Radio 970 WFLA, and right here on our Hubbard's Marina and Real Animals Facebook pages. And then this Sunday night, hopefully you enjoyed the live show tonight, Off the Hook with Captain Hubbard. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. It's every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m., even Easter Sunday. We rock out our live show. So hopefully you join us again next week. And then our supporters after show. If you're a Hubbard's Marina supporter, our supporters after show is going to be starting at 9:55. So 9:55 p.m. supporters after show on our private supporters page. You can become a supporter tonight and gain access to that private supporters page right on our Facebook page. So check it out. Also, want to give a shout out to our friends over at Gator Gyms Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. This show was brought to you by our friends over at Gator Gyms. Hopefully you've checked them out. If you haven't already, get down there. Huge selection, killer deals. One of the craziest amounts of inventory I've ever seen in our area. Really, really cool people. Really great place. Tons of inventory. Gator Gyms Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. Also, give a shout out to our other friends, partners, and sponsors, Real Animals TV, Yamaha, Bass Pro Shops, Engel Coolers, Salt Strong, Aquatic Nutrition, Sport Fishing Chums, Cleanse Oil, and Bull Bay Rods. Also, don't forget to check out Hubbard's Marina on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and Nextdoor, and Trovo, Twitch. Missing what? Twitter. That was the one I missed. I knew I was missing. We got 10 of them now, so check it out. And then with that, it's time to give away our last giveaway of the night, a 39-hour trip for one guest, a $449 value, almost $500 value. Let's see who won a 39-hour trip for one guest. Lucky winner is Justin Rodriguez. Congratulations, Justin Rodriguez. Remember, you've got 5 minutes to claim that free trip by texting us at that phone number just down there. Remember, if you're a supporter, join us at 9:55 for our supporters after show. If you're not a supporter, become one tonight. It's $4.99 a month. You get behind the scenes contact, you get more info, and you get access to that after show every week. So hopefully you'll become a supporter tonight right on the top of our Facebook page. Really appreciate everybody who sent stars tonight. That really, really helps us out, kind of fuels the show, supports us in a big way, and also really appreciate John Quigley for sending us some Eagle Rare and some Buffalo Trace. If you want to send us some booze, really, really like Jameson Black Barrel, but Eagle Rare is a close second, and I don't discriminate against any whiskey or bourbon. I like it all. So thank you, John Quigley. Appreciate you, buddy, for sending us some Eagle Rare and Buffalo Trace. Y'all have a great night, tight lines, and don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. We'll see you next week at 8:30 p.m. for our Off the Hook with Captain Hubbard live show. And don't forget, Tuesday, Bartow Ford, 6 to 8 p.m. This Sunday, April 24th at Bass Pro at 2 p.m. See you there. Tight lines.